opcode because it's a very well thought out like thing, right?
Yeah. So the question is like, basically what you talked about with RBG and how it's already doing ZK rollups right now on layer 1 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What is the point of having opcode and lobbying for opcode and doing all these other changes if it's, what is the point of it and with what you're already doing? I mean,
yeah, I think, opcode is very interesting, and, people are trying, everyone is trying to find ways to make Bitcoin have more utility, right? And which is something I appreciate the effort, right? But not every attempt is really well thought out. So it's really interesting. I think opcode is pretty much has been there before, and they're trying to bring it back. Several friends that we know, because, one, it's either marketing or it's like kind of considered cool, but cool is not really technology. Right, and so one thing that opcode will literally do is that I think opcode is good because you can combine multiple like validations and transactions into one. Right now, that is good if we say we want to scale Bitcoin, we have many transactions on Bitcoin, and the fees are so high, and we want to take it up. In fact, if miners support opcode, I would think they're stupid because like then they're pretty much combining all their transactions and putting it into one transaction and having fewer transactions on layer 1. Right, so I think opcode makes sense, like let's say in 5-7 years, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well, what does this protocol do what does it already do
This kills opcode completely because this has complete smart contract. For example, opcode does not even have zero knowledge proof on layer 1, so people can still front run your transactions with opcode. With RGB, nobody can even see your transactions. Talk more front.
So it already does Turing completeness.
It does Turing completeness, yeah.
Is it on layer 1?
It's on layer 1, it's on Lightning. So it's built to work on every Bitcoin feature layers. In fact, as of today, it works on layer 1. We've done like layer 1 test nets, millions of transactions. We've done Bitcoin mainnet layer 1.
How are you getting around the 7 transactions a second then?
So essentially, since RGB is client side, right, you can mint multiple assets. Each person here can mint 1 million assets to one UTXO all at the same time. But when you're making a transfer, right, you follow the Bitcoin transaction speed. So on Bitcoin layer 1, the transaction speed is low, right? It's very slow. But if you go to Lightning, you can mint your assets on layer 1, move into Lightning, have fast transactions, 20 million transactions per second, and then if you want to secure your assets, you bring it down back to layer 1 and put it in your hardware wallet instead of putting it in a hot wallet.
Hold on, I'm lost. I want to just focus on layer 1 right now because if you can convince me, but this is serious. If you can convince me this is layer 1, this is serious. But you just talked about going to another layer, so I need to know about layer 1.
Okay.
Layer 1.
Layer 1. So pretty much, what RGB does is that it follows layer 1 transaction
All right,
speed.
7 transactions a second.
Yes.
So how do we do anything with that speed?
If you now want to do anything with that speed, so layer 1 essentially is for security.
But I only want layer 1. Are you gonna?
That is why we built.
Okay, but you're talking about something else now. So RBG is it layer 1 or not?
RGB is a protocol that works on all the Bitcoin layers.
Okay, all right.
Starting from layer 1.
All right.
To layer
it doesn't work on layer 1 then with all these other transactions. You're saying you got to.
Layer 1. That's what I said.
All right.
The first utility of RGB is on layer 1.
All right.
Now, if you want more speed, it's like, hey, I'm driving a bicycle, but I want to fly. I'm like, oh, but I have a helicopter. I'll come out of my bicycle, get into my helicopter.
Can you do the Turing complete smart contract
everywhere in all the layers, and it's very
on the layer 1? Wow.
It's consistent on layer 1.
Okay.
It's consistent on layer 2.
All right, please, go ahead.
So the question, like what you said earlier, like going back to the analogy, say we're doing like a mint, like you said, a client-side mint where you had like 1 million transactions, and each of us you attach it to one UTXO.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're gonna finalize that UTXO on chain, and that's sort of how you're rolling up to L1.
So we're not rolling up at all. Like the concept of roll up does not exist on RGB. There's no rolling up.
Because you said ZK, so I was wondering what that meant in this context.
Oh, so in the ZK is that like when the ZK is pretty much like the encryption, because I have to pass you a key for you to decrypt the single use cell. Okay. Do you understand? Remember when I talked about single use cell, putting something inside your cell and then sealing it with the envelope, right? So when you seal it, before you to open it, if I give you like an envelope that is sealed, you cannot open that envelope until I give you the secret.
Wow.
So the secret is the ZK for you to open it all on layer 1. The same way it works on Lightning too.
Okay, so like in that example, all of these like million transactions that we would have done would be like
I think
the envelope connected to
one second. I think you are mixing up two things, right? The first example I gave was that personally, because to issue an RGB asset, you need to have a Bitcoin UTXO, right? Now on this UTXO, I have one UTXO, and then it's like this UTXO can give me a big envelope where I can put in 1 million assets inside one big envelope, and I can seal it. But for me to spend any of those assets in that envelope, I will have to have another UTXO on which I'm going to use to send it to you. So that's why, on RGB client side, you can do as many things as you want on the client on your own device. But when you want to send something to another Bitcoin wallet, you need a UTXO, and it's one per one. So it's actually slow by that fact based on Bitcoin transaction, right? So it's on layer one, it's slow. But the ingenuity of RGB is that we thought about like how layer one is going to work, and then also that this technology should be consistent and also on Lightning, and it should be also consistent on other layers that come up in the future that we don't even know about. So it's more about like how do you build tools that work now and is cool, and they can also work in the future, and you have like privacy and sovereignty, pretty much.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. Thank you.